Speaking of Happy presents Frankly Speaking. With co-host Eli Rigatuso, founder and queer transmasculine two-spirit of the Menominee Nation, and the lovely Avalisa Ellicott, model, public speaker, makeup fanatic, and outspoken transgender advocate. Together, we are Frankly Speaking.
Oh, I can't hear you. Is that me or is that you?
No.
Now I can hear you. Now I can hear you. I was like, oh no. Something's gone wrong and it's my fault.
You know me and that mute button. And little it's a whole it's a whole pandemic thing, you know, that mute button stuff. All that mute button stuff. Let me change up some things here though. We're gonna get rid of that. There we go. We want to make sure we're in the right place. We are Frankly Speaking.
And I am so excited. You know how much I hate holding my tongue.
I know. And you know, I'm excited too. I'm so excited that I brought popcorn.
Okay.
And I'm gonna be drinking some tea.
Okay.
While we, you know, talk about some tea, while we share some tea. And then I have some toast. I have some toastiers to dip into my tea because, you know, we representing the Girl Scouts over here. See my toastiers? The toastiers cookies.
I did see them, those tiny, tiny toasties.
Oh, those little tiny toastiers. I think that's what they're called. The toastiers. They're supposed to mimic French toast, and they actually do, and they're quite tasty, if I must say so myself. But tonight on the show, we have a couple of special guests I'm super excited about. One is missing. I'm not sure what's going on. I might have to message her and be all like, "Hello, are you coming?" But we've been gone for a few weeks. We're back, and we're going to get a lot more consistent these days. We have some exciting things to announce. Yes, I do too. We have some exciting things to announce. I'm not announcing any of them today though. Right? But I am going to announce this. Our first guest is Karma LiLoLa, as she says, planet Earth's premier socialite and professional people watcher extraordinaire. I love that. I'm like, send me a bio. Well, here's what. From the catwalk to the stage, there isn't a gig too large or small. Visit karmalilola.com for more information. That's KARMALILOLA.com. If you hear the rhythmic clip clop of a stiletto heel echoing in the distance, run or roll. Don't walk.
Hello.
Oh, what's going on with your audio? You sound so far away and kind of robotic.
Should it be closer to my cell phone?
I don't know. Are your headphones working okay? There's something weird going on. Let me see if I can fix it on my end.
No?
There.
Oh.
Kind of?
There you are.
Yeah.
A little bit better? Yeah?
Oh, it's fabulous.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Considerably better.
We were buffering. We were buffing it out. You better buff it out. What do we know about buffing?
Nothing.
Nothing?
There's no buffing going on over here.
Right? Here, on the flight.
There's lots of buffing going on over here.
Hubby's on 13th Street, where I like to do my favorite people watching, which pays an entertainment value.
Oh, I bet.
No, see, I hope you're doing well. I love seeing you.
I am living life. It's crazy. The person that I was when we first met and the person that I am now, two different women.
Congrats. Excellent. I hope that that's obviously a good thing.
Yes, I'm a wife now. I'm a homeowner. Just like very cis het norm type gigs going on. And while, there's the duality of accepting the heteronormative narrative, I think there's also a lot of power embracing it in transness and also still being outspokenly trans.
Yeah, I think a part of my speaking frankly, it's kind of my internal message, but I hope it's something that everyone can get on board. And that is like, everyone is so fiercely worried about manifesting their mind's eye. So I think my mental health practitioner called it the stay in your lane conversation. And for you, don't you feel like a little marble statue in a little grotto? It's still very much an accomplishment, and you're living the life as you want to live it. So it is a huge accomplishment in my eyes. And
yeah, it's
And this whole stay in your lane thing, though, I've had people say that to me so many times. And I just want to say that, like, we don't always know exactly what our lane is. And we need time to also work that out. You can't just tell someone, stay in your lane. What exactly does that mean?
it's something that we have spoken on before. And that's when people who don't have specifically, one very specific example is when you see people that do not identify as trans feminine or trans women speaking about the rights and the issues of trans women.
See, I like that. I can agree with that.
That's very much stay in your lane, ride that path over there, because that's what's going to get you there. This right here, no, thank you.
Yes. Okay. See, now that it's kind of like this. We were talking about this earlier. First of all, I would like to just model my greatest COVID couture. This is my
cute, handsome,
my brand new Good Medicine sweatshirt. I decided to go with the pink, which kind of matches with my, speaking of happy pink colors, and I'm wearing my Make America Native Again hat. My fanciest COVID couture. But Avalisa and I were talking a little bit earlier today, and it's like we're talking about how we are, number one, we get policed by the binary cops all the time. Number two, we get policed by the folks who have put colors and assigned colors to certain people, and only those people shall wear those colors. And even if someone like myself chooses to wear a pink, then I'm still seen somehow as less of a man because I'm wearing pink, which is ridiculous, but
absolutely
it
stupid.
happens. Yes.
You told me earlier that you were wearing pink, and so I wanted to wear blue.
Oh,
just a little thing.
That's super cute.
But yeah, like the whole gendering colors is so stupid. I've been watching like gender reveal videos, and while I understand, someone was talking to me about it, and they were like I'm gonna let my child be whoever they want to be, but this is like the first piece of information that we're getting about our child, and we're really excited for it. And I was like, I can get it from that standpoint, but like celebrating what's between a child's legs is like, does it have to be a gender reveal? Like, does it have to be pink? Does it have to be blue?
Well, can it not just be like, we're having a baby? Like, I don't know how many people, well, I guess there are dog people who also celebrate the gender of their puppies, but for the most part, like, do we seriously? Like, I used to have this little wire hair terrier heeler mix that everyone always referred to as he. Always. Like always called her he. And I used to crack up about it. We never said anything. We didn't care. As a matter of fact, my partner at the time would always say, well, we're not really sure. She loves other little girl dogs. So we're uncertain about what her gender is or her sexual orientation even.
That's her journey. That's her journey.
Yeah. So we aren't going to put any
That's
labels
their
on her.
journey.
But you know what? Oh, shoot. We had somebody waiting in the wings there, and then she popped off. I was just getting ready to announce her. And then she went away.
Ooh, well, I
This
can.
lash is going to be the death of me.
Just go ahead. Keep talking. As soon as I see her popping back on, I'm going to interrupt you, and I'm going to do her bio. All right, here it is. All right. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. We have our second special guest of the evening. We have joining us of a variety of different amazing things that she has done over the years. She was first created in Las Vegas, Nevada, where she was able to start her career and work among some of the best entertainers of the world at the Las Vegas Strip, performing nightly and rubbing shoulders with your favorite celebrities. After being in the limelight for so many years, the Land of Enchantment called her home. Recently relocated, is now living in the Navajo Reservation in Arizona and New Mexico border. She has been fighting for equal rights as an activist for her LGBTQIA2S plus Indigenous relatives to create equal rights in rural areas and reservations that do not normally protect those on Indigenous lands. She has been on both season 1 and season 2 of We're Here, making cameo appearances. She is of the Dene, also known as Navajo Nation, and grew up in the same area that she lives in now. Joining us now is, drum roll please, Lady Shug, our lovely, beautiful, amazing Lady Shug. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so
Hey,
much.
Shug.
Lady Shug is she, her, and they, them pronouns. She identifies as a non-binary queer person. Lady Shug. Shug, my sister, my relative. Thank you so much for joining us. I love that background you got going on there.
Oh, thank you. You know, this is my old background from my Monday night, late night kiki.
Are you still doing the late night kiki, or did you stop?
We wrapped up season 3 about 3 weeks ago. I'm going to start traveling again, so I just kind of had to put that on hiatus. We're trying to make it into a podcast, so season 4 might be a podcast format.
Hey, you know what? Podcasts can be easier to hammer out. That might be the route to go. I'm so glad to see you. I'm so grateful that you're here joining us this evening. Our conversation is just around couture and fashion and the ways in which we just want to have a frank conversation about the ways in which we force binary structures on so many different things, from our clothes to the ways that we do things, all of those things. So we just want to, we want to frankly talk about it. I brought tea and I brought popcorn. So go for it. Look, we all have tea. Queer tea.
I have Coke or Pepsi.
It's all
I wish I
right.
would have gotten the memo.
Memos are really hard to organize nowadays because people
Everything
just
goes into spam. Everything goes into spam.
my robo
Lady
box
Shug and Karma, I will encourage you to just get in there and talk. I know Eli and I have a banter between us, and we will continue. And I've watched people be like, don't do it. Just jump in there. Interrupt me. I'll stop. But yeah, let's get it started.
to tie it back into the little intro chit chat that we were getting set up. I had mentioned stay in your lane, and Eli wanted a little bit of extrapolating as to my understanding of it. Also, hi, Lady Shug. Nice to meet you. So for me, I used to have an issue in my adolescence, kind of early 20s, where I would feel unsuccessful, where I would feel not, what is it, a manifestation of the goals that I had wanted. So for me, staying in your lane was helpful because I was comparing myself to people and feeling inferior to them. But here's what my mental health practitioner said is that you compare yourself to people that are more ahead, advanced, or skilled than you because that's how aspirations work. So you're going to see somebody with a successful career, the fashion you want, the something that they've achieved. You're going to want that, so you're going to feel less than because you're not at that level. So the stay in your lane thing is I guess just not follow your gut instinct, but kind of maybe mind your own business and don't really worry about other folks succeeding and you feeling unsuccessful because of their success. No, stay in your little lane, put your little horse blinders on, because you don't really compare yourself to people that are disadvantaged compared to you. You're not like, oh, I'm so flexible because they can't even touch their kneecap. No, you're like,
I think I think sometimes what someone told me many years ago was, Eli, don't compare your insides, like how you feel inside about yourself, with other people's outsides. Because what's happening for them on the outside may not even be what's true for them on the inside either.
Yeah. And so
there's a lot of comparison that happens specifically within like transition, and people comparing their transitions. Oh my God, my toe's bleeding. People can, Lady Shug, last time I saw you, my toe was bleeding.
That's right.
Look at that.
Oh my gosh, Lady Shug's over here. I'm gonna cut a bit.
But we compare.
I promise, relative,
our transitions.
I'm not doing any kind of voodoo towards you. I promise.
I don't think so. I just looked down and I was like, oh my God, coinky dink. But I think, it's hard not to compare your transition to other people because of the aspirational aspect of it. But I think that to a certain point, it is really counterproductive because you're never going to be the same person on the inside. No matter which doctor you get, you're never going to be the same person on the outside. You're never going to have the exact same experiences. You didn't have the exact same background. And so I think that there is a lot of harm in comparing yourself to others, specifically within the realm of transition. But I think comparison is such a negative thing. Seeing somebody as aspirational, yeah, cool, you do that. But comparing yourself, your success, your journey to anyone else's is always going to be counterproductive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would be to contrast. I feel like maybe Eli, the stigma you had about my stay in your lane comment was know your role or know your place via stay in your lane. And my interpretation's a little different. It's kind of like just a blossom where you're planted, perhaps. I don't know.
See, I like that. I guess that stay in your lane has always been used in such a negative connotation when it's been applied to me throughout my life, right? And so for me, it's just one of those things where I think it's a double-edged sword, so to speak. Maybe you might be trying to help someone, but I do like bloom where you're planted. I do like also understanding that, it takes time for us all to blossom. I think Lady Shug was going to chime in there with something else. She was fanning herself. What were you going to say, sis?
No, going off of that statement, it's something that, I was told as a young person growing up too is kind of like, it's kind of like this is your role, this is your position, this is what you're supposed to be. The general colonial terms of what a boy is or a girl is, that whole aspect of that, I get that because I grew up on that, but I'm also probably a lot older than most people that I was used to staying in my lane, and that's exactly what it was. And then talking about being compared, I think being young and vulnerable and not really having a backbone or feeling free and kind of finding yourself, you kind of start comparing yourself to other people you look up to. It could be easily a celebrity, it could be somebody in the community that's already fully transitioned or is totally out and flamboyant, and you just feel that energy and you compare yourself to that. You want to be that person. You idolize that. Because I did that when I was younger. I compared myself, and I wanted to be those people that I compared myself to. But then now, even relearning my tradition and the way I am and the way I present myself now as an Indigenous person, we're always told that our stories are never going to be the same. All four of us are here right now. We all have different journeys. Creator put us on this earth to have different stories. Nobody ever has a same story. But yeah, it's something, I mean, it's give or miss. I think as you get older, you kind of start learning stuff like this. Because I know I have. I know when I was younger, I was very vulnerable and I was very easy to be attached to, compare myself to somebody or to stay in my lane, if you would, because I was like, okay, well, I'm not certainly belong to this community per se, or I'm not allowed, to walk this way or wear this or talk this way. But now as an adult, now that I have a backbone, now I've gone through ups and downs, I'm like, screw it. I'm making my own story.
I think a lot of that comes with age. I know for me, a lot of my time spent comparing myself to others was before transition, because I was always comparing myself to other men and other boys, and I was trying to understand why I was so unlike them. To the point to where I was being harassed because I thought I was doing a good job blending in. I thought that I was, doing a good job looking like everybody else, but I would always get singled out because, it was a mask. It was a role that I was playing. So that was really the only time that I did compare myself to anyone else. I have always had aspirations, like my body goals, my aspirational goals for my body is to look like Nicole Scherzinger. I've gotten pretty close, but I still have a little bit of a ways to go. But like, it's never. I think there's the negative connotation that comes with comparison. That in order to compare yourself to someone that you see as aspirational, you're going to have to put yourself down. And I think aspiring is more of a journey, whereas comparison is more of a mile marker. Does that make sense?
I think I see where you're going with this, because I think about, I think for me, I always connect, the oppression that I've felt my whole life. First of all, that oppression of not being able to be myself fully for the longest time. And I know that many of you can relate to that, because being born in 1965 and coming and telling my parents when I was like 6 or 7 that I believed that I was a boy. And even then there were I have had some twists and turns in my journey, right? And so although I was born assigned female, and at one point and early on in my transition, my push was to be more masculine expressing, it took me a while to unpack what that really meant to me. And as I've unpacked it, I've now kind of centered myself more in the middle, right? I'm more feeling like I say he, they, because I don't really relate to she, and only because it was forced upon me. And so as I've gotten older and I've started to say, look, this is me. This is just who I am. I mean, when I look at myself from even 3 or 4 years ago, I look at pictures and I go, wow, what happened to that guy? I mean, I know COVID and all the other, like, I know all that in my brain, but there's just other pieces of me that kind of go, okay, I'm still on a journey here. I'm still on a journey. And I think for the young folks who might watch this or who have turned in at this point, I think any message, if there's one to give to them at this point, is to just understand that where you're at in your journey is not for anyone else to say, that it is for you to say, and it is for you to believe that you are on the path that you are meant to be on. And there is no shame or fear in making mistakes either, because we all do that. And hopefully there'll be an empathetic and compassionate elder around to reassure you. And if there isn't one, reach out to us, because I tell you right now, the four of us will applaud you big time and tell you that you are on the right path and you have nothing to worry about and that you are headed in the right direction. And I think that that's what was missing for me when I was young. There was a whole lot of nope, sit down, nope, shut up, nope, can't be, nope, quit it, can't talk about that, don't, and now here, what are we doing now? This whole don't say gay thing. I mean, that was my life for the how many, decades of the early part of my life, to not be able to say that. And so, no, you're not going to take that away from me now either. None of it. Not to say that I'm gay, but I am queer.
Well, and if I may to similarly dovetail on that, and I'd like to take a moment to have just 2 beats of silence for a sister that we lost. She went that angelic way right before the pandemic started, and her name was Camila Concepcion. And right to dovetail into my thoughts on what you were just saying, Eli. So 2 moments of silence for Camila, please. So with this notion that it's even going to be prohibited to say gay, for me, that, and Camila's passing, all of these things, it's just like, I challenge myself. I'm going to use I statements because that is how I am empowered, what I feel at liberty to do. And that is, stop being so apologetic about who I am, because people think that we're not out there, that we're too stealth, they think we're this, they think we're that. So this authenticity of being unapologetic helps combat some of this rhetoric of it being even shameful to say, yes, gay, then as an extension, LGBTQI2S+, it's like, where else would they draw the line in preventing folks like us to even be acknowledged in social spaces? And that is completely unacceptable in my little bird peeping eyes.
I mean, look at what they've done in schools. The fact that they've glazed over slavery, the fact that they've glazed over the treatment of indigenous people, like it's not a surprise, but it's very shocking that there are so many people. It's like, okay, so you can't say gay. You can't talk about gay relationships because it's sexuality, but you can fully talk about how a 13, 14-year-old got pregnant by who knows who and had a 30-year-old husband. You can explain that one, but you can't explain that Mr. Lawson has a husband because they love each other. It's the erasure that has been happening throughout the entirety of this country's history, the entirety of world history. And the fact that we've started to nitpick so far, it's a question of how are these kids going to feel comfortable speaking up about who they are and how they see themselves if they can't even say it at school, if they don't have a safe place to say it. Because I know my home was not a safe place to talk about who I was. And thinking that we're in 2022 and the world has grown so much, you think that there would be a teacher or a mentor in that school that people could be honest with, kids could be honest with, but they can't even talk, they can't even say gay in school. It's fucked. It's
But
fucked.
also, we also need to hold our own people of the LGBTQ two-spirit community accountable as well, because there are some relatives I know that they won't uplift young queer kids, trans women, they won't uplift indigenous queer people, but they'll be in the shadows, they'll be at the clubs worrying about them. It's all about me.
Call them
a
out.
world we're in a world like social media, and people are about clout, about clickbait. Instead of actually doing the work and helping and uplifting the community, I would be scared if I had a young queer person in my life that was young growing up that I was raising, because even my own community can't support me as a queer Indigenous person. My trans sisters are not being supported. It's only if it's a trending topic, or if it's for clout, or if it's to uplift your social media game. That's what I see right now. Even like my own community, I'm getting a lot of backlash right now because I don't pronouns has become a thing. And I respect people that, use pronouns and they say, hey, this is my pronoun. I'm learning myself. But I'm also learning as I'm getting older, I just want to be considered a person, a human. My ancestors never had a thing where they were like, hey, this is my pronouns. Indigenous people never had, my ancestors as an Indigenous person never had pronouns back in the day. They just treat you like a person, a human. And so that's why I always call people relatives, regardless if you're Indigenous or non-Indigenous, because that's more universal for everybody. Um, because even the whole term of coming out, you coming out as a queer person, as a trans person, coming out as non-binary, even for me, this would be considered my second coming out as non-binary. Um, that's a colonial term. We never used to do that back in my traditions. None of my ancestors used to do that. We would just live our life, uplift each other, love each other, treat each other equally, and never see anything regardless of your orientation, your gender expression, your sexuality, or even your pronouns. So now I'm like telling people, I don't really use too much of pronouns or let people know what my orientation is, because I want you to see me as a relative, as a human, because for me, that's like a colonial term for me, or like a movement. But I respect everybody else that does it. But a lot of people don't understand that. And a lot of people don't like that I call like non-Indigenous people relatives. But I'm like, wait, but they are relatives. We all live on Mother Earth. And I see them as relatives. I don't see them for their color of their skin, where they came from, X, Y, and Z. I just see them as relatives. So that's why my little thing says relatives.
Yeah. See, and I love that because, so I started during the pandemic, I started learning my Menominee language. And within our language, nothing is gendered. And as you were prior to colonization, as you were growing up and you had a rite of passage, and they would send you out on your vision quest when you were young, when you were turning into a young adult. When you came back, you were then named. So you got your official name at that point. And the reason why is because they took that first 12, 13 years of your life to get to know you as you told them who you are, and to share with them and show them who you are and how you wanted to contribute to the community. When I was young, it's so interesting because when I look back on it retroactively, of course, I see now how absolutely and incredibly supportive my father was of my being more masculine than feminine. I was the only of his three, what he thought were three daughters, that he taught how to change oil and change tires on the car because I wanted to learn those
We gotta
things.
change that for you too. His three children.
Right. I know, but I'm just saying that from what he knew, right? But again, well, he had four children. But again, it's all about what the colonizer way was, right? But when we think about the world today, and when I think about parents who reach out to me, I have to help them decolonize their minds first around, what is going to honor your child. And the only way that you're truly going to know that is by having conversations with them and then listening. And then not telling them, nope, can't do that. Nope, sorry, I misgendered you again. You got to be patient with me. It's not about that. It's about allowing your child to tell you and show you who they are. And that could change. They could say, I'm he, him. And then a little while down the road, it's nope, I'm they, them. And a little further down the road, they might say, you know what? I'm both and. I'm she and her and they and them and all of it. And I mean, I would love one day for everyone to get where you are, Shug. Absolutely would love one day for our world, for all of us to say, welcome, relative. It is so good to see you again. Like, I really feel like all of you are my sisters, my relatives. And my life has been profoundly impacted by who you've been for me at different times over the past 6 years. So, you know, this is really so important because I just, there's still so many kids. And Shug, you do a lot of work with kiddos. I know Karma and Avalisa do as well. Shug does a lot of work on the res and helping the houseless folks, the relatives who are experiencing houselessness. And so, you know, I'm always just so inspired by who you are and the work that you do. It's always, always about what you can do for your relatives, for all of your relatives. And I just think that that's beautiful. So, you know, but I think that, you know, it's like knowledge is power. And the more that we educate and we teach and we share the knowledge that we have, the more that we'll find that balance. You know, one of the things that Avalisa and I taught each other early on was, you know, understanding that it's okay for folks who are non-binary to exist and to coexist with us. And that because we can honor and affirm who they are, they also can honor and affirm who we are. And that we don't have to sit here and say that, no, 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 there's only boys and girls, because we're just saying the same thing that the world has tried to tell us our whole lives. And that just doesn't work. Doesn't work. So anyway, I'm going to step off the box. But I love
It's
you all.
okay.
All so much.
Yeah, I completely agree that, you know, so much of humanity gets wrapped up in understanding. For a lot of people, they feel like they need to understand you before they show you humanity, which is absolutely disgusting. But that's something that we experience a lot in the trans community, is our humanity being taken away from us because people are too busy trying to understand us, to just treat us as human beings. And I do hope for a future where how someone else lives their life, it has nothing to do with you. And so you just don't give a fuck. You treat them as a person, you treat them kind because they deserve that as a person. But unfortunately, we're not there. And there's too much weight being put in understanding or misunderstanding or coming in with preconceived notions, and that dictating the way that you treat people instead of just treating people with love and kindness because they are human beings going through shit just like you. So yeah, thank you for helping nail that home. I think that it's
a bit earlier we were talking about a variety of things, and we were talking about within the LGBT community there is all of the phobias: biphobia, trans misogyny, homophobia, the oldest one of them all, you know. There is non-binary erasure and things like that. And I think what we can, the like call to action and the challenge to myself and to everyone really is to have a little bit of compassion for other people's experiences. I encourage people to claim what they're saying, claim their lived experience, and say, in my past, I did these things. You know, don't claim to speak for other folks. And the list I had just had the long list. Like, don't out people for things, for an identity that you yourself don't hold. So let them say it. It really, it does not matter if somebody is, I am assigned male at birth, so why am I going to say that somebody else is assigned male at birth? That's extremely rude and unethical. That's something that I feel empowered by in my transition, but that's not the same for everyone. And then we were talking a little bit about like culture and heritage and things of that nature. And like for me, I understand that wanting to feminize and being an aspiring socialite, wanting to be a fashion designer, a fashion model on stage, I understand that it may reinforce Western standards of beauty, but it is my understanding that by engaging with it, I am also challenging it as well. And so I threw a lot out there because I write down in a little tiny notebook what I want to say. So I choose a variety of different points. So oh yeah, she's sneaky. She's got off camera. She's got all sorts of things.
I think there's ways to exist within beauty standards, specifically Western beauty standards, that also uplift you as a person. It's really difficult for me because like I'm pretty as fuck based on like Western beauty standards. I'm skinny.
Sorry,
I
Bob.
have big tits, a tiny waist, a big ass. Like I am what beauty is at this moment.
I'm dead. I'm dead.
And
She's speaking
I am
facts,
not,
not opinions. Facts, not opinions.
I'm not that to blend in with an idea of beauty. I am not that to achieve that. I am this because I think it looks good. I enjoy the way that I look. And if I were to ever think of something different, a different way to express myself, I would quickly do that regardless of what the beauty standard is. But Karma, I'm just gonna like step back a couple of steps and I'm going to say something that you didn't say, and I'll say it from me. I'm not going to say it from everybody. But fuck cis gay white men. I need y'all to get it the fuck together because we're having a lot of issues in our entire community, and a lot of them are rooted in you and your bigotry and the fact that you call lesbians dykes and you call trans people trannies, and you live in that whiteness, and you don't take the time to understand that the other people in your community are suffering from different disparities. And just because you're gay does not mean that you are erased from whiteness and erased from race, from racism. That's still you, boo. That's still you, because every white gay man, every cis white gay man turning gay and then talking like a black woman, like chill the fuck out. You walking around talking about how you don't understand trans people and you don't understand why we want to cut our genitals off. Cut that shit out, because if we can't even get support within our own community, how the fuck do you think we're going to get support out there?
Yes.
Get it together.
Yes, that was
Frankly
a
speaking.
whole.
Mary, clean your shit up, Mary.
Yeah,
And
that
honestly,
was a whole word.
the scientific data, Avalisa's measurement sheets are industry standard, and so many people pretty much try to sabotage her on the runway because she's flawless.
See,
That's
that's the other piece of it. And it's not just probably trying to sabotage her because she's hot as fuck. They're sabotaging her because she's trans and hot as fuck. Let's just tell the truth.
And then also has a voice, and is not scared to say it. That's the problem. That's the main problem.
And that's all
Yeah,
grounded in
you
what?
know me.
It's all grounded in the patriarchy,
But you know what,
trans
sister?
misogyny, and noir. Yep.
Don't ever be silent. One thing
No,
I
never.
always learn
Never.
from one of my elders is our existence, even this live stream right now, as people of color, as a part of the community, as relatives, our existence right now is our resistance right now. Hopefully there's some white guy from wherever is watching this and learning some goddamn shit. Or either just educating themselves, or even our own people from our own cultures and our own backgrounds learn from us.
I am not afraid to read people the house down. I am also very encouraged by other people reading me down, because existence in society is always about educating yourself, learning how the things you do and the ways that you act and the things that you say, how they affect other people. And so I am always open to being read down. Eli and I had a conversation with someone who read me down because of the things that I said to them and the way that I treated them. And I was like, yes, her, period. Thank you. I understand that. Because we're so obsessed with this like cancel culture bullshit. And it's not cancel culture. It is it's consequences. It's what is the word? It starts with an A.
Accountability.
Accountability. Cancel culture is just accountability. And the thing is the people that survive cancel culture are the people who actually listen and the people who learn. The ones who get canceled and stay canceled are the ones who are like, fuck that, I didn't do anything wrong.
But you know what? You know where cancel culture, I believe, started is from our own people. You know, people that were oppressed for so many years. We're so critical with our own community, our own people, that you know, even counterculture is so thriving right now. With even my own, as an Indigenous person, it's happening right now. You know, we have Native TikTok, where one of the Native TikToks came back after 10 months of being canceled, and he just literally did this whole thing. I don't even want to give him that much of a time because he's not worth it, but I'm gonna just a little bit. I'm not even gonna say his name, but he came back after 10 months, and now he talked about something about the water stream. If you drink the reservation water, it turns you gay. And so the community went after him. He went gone for 10 months. He came back. He did a bitch, you better stop. I cannot.
I'm a professional people watcher. I'm not kidding.
I'm going to be bringing props on the show. Oh my God. I feel very unprepared.
Look, I got a double barrel too.
Yes.
So he came back after 10 months and said an apology, never said what he really did. There was no accountability, but he was saying that God saved him and he's a better person. And guess who's like amping him up? Our own Indigenous cisgender people. And I'm just like, see, this is the reason why people like myself, when we have a voice or when we speak out, you guys don't uplift us. You guys only want to uplift us when it's at a drag show, or you want a joke or a bud of a joke, or you want to see our beauty, or you want to learn our fashion, or you want to be glammed by us, or you want to learn stuff from the queer people. Because guess what? Queer and trans people, bitch, we got our shit together. We're creative, we're talented, we set trends, we continue culture, we continue our stories, we are caregivers, X, Y, and Z. So when cisgender people come to us, it's at their convenience. And that's what I hate. I hate that. I'm like, I'm just not like at your convenience. You got to support me all year round until I die and leave this earth. Not just when it's convenient to you. So that's why it bothers me with like cancel culture. It's like these people that go through cancel culture, the ones that uplift them are like cisgender people, and they're like, okay, it's fine. But oh my God, if it's a trans woman, if it's a queer person, a two-spirit person, bitch, they go hard and ham on them, where it's like, we hurt them. And it's like, okay, it's a double sword, honey. Let's be honest. let's even the playing field. And frankly, it's just accountability.
Yeah, and here's the thing. So I'm going to say this, and I'm even going to say a name because I'm still angry about what happened, right? So there's this group, this organization called Have a Gay Day. And they're on Facebook, and they have millions of followers. They were fortunate enough to whatever they did. It's run by a cis white gay man. And a few years back, they posted something really problematic about trans people, and I called them out on it. I called them out and I said, look, you have got to moderate these comments. This is gross. It's disgusting that you would post something just for the clicks and the likes so that you can have all this social media platform and following. This is gross. That MFer literally called me. I was at a conference, called me, was just verbally harassing me on the phone, making up 101 excuses about why they couldn't moderate the comments, this, that, and the other. Had the nerve to say to me, listen, we have a trans person on our board and he didn't think it was a problem. Oh my God, because yeah, trans people are a monolith. What the I mean, he then had the nerve to actually post something on his own personal Facebook page about me, about what I said and what I was a stand for, sent his whole little posse of people started coming after me on my own Facebook page, right? And the reason why I bring this up is because there's a friend of mine who posted, so now I guess Have a Gay Day is posting in support of trans people. And so she shared something. Yes. So she shared something that they posted, and I wasn't going to say anything. I was just going to let it go by. And I'm not mad at my friend for sharing it, not at all. But I posted on her post. I said, look, I said, I refuse to follow this page. I refuse to give them any airtime. It's run by cis, gay folks who don't really understand and probably don't even listen to the trans people who are on staff. I mean, this guy's never called me and apologized for being a jackass. But they were posting about the swimmer that recently won that 500-meter race, and all this stuff about how, oh my God, we should be supporting. They're trying to be supportive, and don't get me wrong, I think it's amazing, and there's a complex conversation to be had around all of that. But it just pissed me off. I mean, my cheeks are warm right now, just even talking about it.
You got red. I saw
and
it. I love
it. I might also be, thank you for the fan. So it angers me to no frustration. And I think, Shug, what you are talking about is that, because it's about that social media that social capital, and how many clicks and likes can I get, and how many loves can I get, and how many followers, and yet And I think it's amazing and interesting to me. And don't get me wrong, I don't have a problem with this, okay? But I want to speak about this because it's just the truth. When you have trans creators like me out here, and Avalisa out here, and Lady Shug doing your thing, and we don't get even half the following of some of these pages, we don't even get half the support of some of these, other folks, it makes me wonder how that is. And it's because what Lady Shug was just talking about. We don't sit in that colonized standard of how we should be acting. I've had people tell me, Eli, if you weren't so angry, maybe more people would pay attention. And I'm just like, what the hell? Yeah. But then you get to watch all these other angry people go out there and be upset about certain things and get masses of people following them. And then they still turn around and F up. Just like this person effed up. So he got canceled. And then what does he do? He comes back. Oh, the dear Lord, oh God Almighty saved me. And now I'm so sorry. But you know what? Drinking the water on the res is going to turn you gay. I mean,
oh my God. I mean, it's so crazy. Also, like, for you, like, all three of us are here now. We lost the person.
They're there.
But even like us as people,
I got you.
There you go.
I'm back.
Okay.
We canceled them. We cancel you. I'm just kidding.
Oh. Like a break.
Hi, Karma.
Karma, did God save you too? Is that why you're back?
Yeah, I'm resurrected, like a phoenix reborn.
Is the water gonna turn the people gay?
The tea will, sweetie. The tea will. You gotta brew it and stir it.
Girl, let's only hope the water makes half of America gay. The world will be a lot better.
As long as they're not all white. As long as they're not all white cis gay men.
And then, since you brought it up again, in the past I had been reading a little bit of Judith Butler, who's a gender theorist, and she actually talked about cis gay male relationships as serving a function of the patriarchy, because they're an idealistic relationship that is void of women. And if you think about the earning potential of two able-bodied, educated men, it is more than of a household with a man or a male identified person and a woman identified person. So it's this kind of like T-Rex, big head, tiny arms. It's not right. It's like, so yeah, if anyone's interested in researching a little bit more on how actually destructive and a remnant of colonialism, this trans misogynoir even, or transphobia from gay people, it's rooted in so much of these systemic matrices of oppression and advantages. It's kind of sickening, and not like a stunt, not like a stunt on the runway sickening. It's like some sort of
also one
Gross
off what you
sickening.
said, I think that's also rooted in our own community, like kind of how we talked about.
Yes.
There's no accountability. There, it happens within. It's double rooted. It's whether cisgender people, but then it's also with our own LGBTQ two-spirit community that's also not being accountable for it. Just because you're a gay cisgender white male. I'll go ahead.
Oh,
sis.
it's the thing that we are marginalized. Our entire community is marginalized, and so many people within our communities think, oh, well, because I'm marginalized, I've done all the work. I've done it all, so I can't be doing anything wrong. And I think that's the biggest issue, is that you still have to look at yourself. You still have to grow. You still have to educate yourself. I am a Black trans woman. I am at the bottom of the barrel, the back of the line, and I'm still here educating myself and learning so that I don't mistreat people.
Yeah. Oh.
Well,
I'm the same way, girl. I'm still learning to this day. I'm still learning about me, myself, my culture, about my community, how it is to be non-binary, how it is to be queer, how it is to be indigenous. I mean, I'm learning every day. Don't get me wrong. Everything we're saying now, we're either telling you we're not speaking down on you. We're speaking with you as relatives. We're speaking about something we've experienced or something that we've gone through. Like we talked earlier in the beginning, our stories are never the same, but some of my stories, some of your stories might be similar. You might hear something that we said tonight where you're like, aha, I had the similar thing. Now there's another relative that had something similar. And now I'm not the only one.
Yes.
Shug's not shaming you. I am. Bring back shame. Shame on you.
I love
better.
it. Shame, shame, shame.
Yes.
A little bit more on that, to pull that apart, and it's like self-shame, and again to kind of for me, stop stifling myself in my own, not even transition as in the, not in terms of gender and any of that, but in terms of my life path to fulfillment. And for me, this manifesting my inner authentic truth is a part of that, but shedding some of the self shame. I was thinking, like, when I was earlier in my life, when I lived my life as a man, I stood out as a man. So I like to style myself as a pinup, because that's the depiction of beauty that I like to emulate. That's how I feel empowered and curvaceous. So for me, I just embrace that. I'm also going to stand out as a woman. I have never really been comfortable kind of in they call it grayish in the fashion world, this kind of grayish beige that you see some collections in, kind of like a sand color, and not, it's like, that's not me. I like to have these a little bit of glimmer, a little bit of glitz. And so for me, I just am so aware that this kind of bump to my chakra was the loss of Camila Concepcion. I'm still shook. It's like, I cannot tell you that. And I feel like this is more than an understanding and reverent group of folks, where, not that, yes, I personally hate it, but I have to shed this, that I hate that it took losing her to inspire me to turn the glitz and glam up. And I mean, one time I had a fellow trans woman tell me, "Oh, you don't put glitter eyeliner on. Men don't want to sleep with CLOWNS." And I was just like, "So I can't wear glitter?" And so that's kind of like all these little flicker reels of things, right? I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna put on all the accessories I want, and maybe I'll take a couple off just so I don't lose so much. But I'm the one. I'm the one who gets to decide. It's like,
Yeah.
I've been looking up different feminine mythological goddesses, and Athena is always depicted with a shield or with something. And like for me, a lot of people, if I may, sometimes people have referred to specifically for the stage, drag makeup as war paint for people as they're getting on the stage. So for me, these objects and the things, they help empower me. They're my little, I'll throw these rings at you. Stay away, girl. You got it. That's your little wand. Your fairy godmother wand. If you choose.
Girl, I don't know about the war paint, but all right.
Oh, yeah.
I've always identified with Aphrodite, and it's more so about my vulnerability and the projection of sexuality on top of my vulnerability. I'm naked. I'm here. I'm just doing me, and people see what they want to see. But yeah, that's what I thought of when you had said that.
Girl, you would have to pick the one goddess that is the most beautiful goddess ever, of course.
Just naked with the
Or
wind
me,
blowing.
and then I guess I'm Hades. Because I mean, apparently because I make you bleed every time I show up. So I'm
Well, you didn't.
It's
To be
terrible. I keep
clear,
looking at it.
you just happened to be there the first time she was bleeding. She hurt herself the first time
no, I was there before
I
her.
hurt
Then
myself
she
this
showed
time
up.
too.
because well, and actually though, there should have been a note saying, "Hey, there's a step up here."
There's a
Because
step.
you,
Watch
yeah,
out, especially if you're wearing open toe shoes.
yeah, that was that part.
Girl, I'm gonna put every time I'm in a show or a Zoom meeting with you, I'm gonna send you some band-aids. And put a band-aid on every toe before you get on the live or before you come to the show.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
hilarious. Should
That's
we
bad.
send band-aids with like Wonder Woman on them? Like, what kind of band-aids should we send?
I feel like a Hello Kitty moment is really cute right
Oh.
now. Yeah.
Well, hey, so Karma, you said like, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, there was so much in what you just shared around all of the things that we face as
Wait, I didn't necessarily mean to misuse the term war paint in a way that was colonialized. I'm so sorry. It was just a figure. That's how I've heard it in the past.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason why I said anything is just because, like, especially in the drag culture, people think that it's just easy. Like, girl, we can say this. No, you can't. It's just like the same thing with Pocahontas. But that's another story. But no, it was no tea. I know you're a relative. I know you didn't meet it, but it's for the people that are watching that don't understand. They can't say that.
Yeah, it's kind of like saying it's looking at folks who want to say they have spirit animals. It's kind of on that same in the same vein of that. And so, if someone is indigenous, we can have a whole show on what it means to paint your face as an indigenous person.
Okay.
And the different ways in which we use paint and certain colors and all of that is, I mean, again, we're talking about a culture that is very much rooted in and grounded in all of the ways that, color and nature and we as people and connection is also healing and uplifting. And that's not something that we have in general in the world. And if you think about the fashion industry, what do? They're always co-opting something, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's very rare that I see, like, you didn't actually do any co-opting when you did your line at the Omaha Fashion Week, that
Yep.
Avalisa modeled for you. I thought what you did was stunning. I thought it
Thank
was
you.
truly beautiful, and you had people of all shapes and sizes wearing your clothing, and it was so out of the box and not at all what you would typically see. So, you know, and this is just, again, this is what we're here to talk frankly, and then we're here to educate. And so I appreciate that Shug said something, because that was the only thing that caught me too, but Shug got to it first.
No, well, and I'm trying to also model kind of apologizing for not saying the right thing, not saying the right thing the first time, but saying something that was not obviously not even a microaggression, maybe, or a small thing that may have, you know. And I was just like, oh, let me model apologizing, and
Yeah,
then
we were just talking about that earlier. It's accountability. You were very quick to be accountable and be like, "Hey, sis, I'm sorry. You know, I didn't take offense. I didn't, girl. If you were a cisgender gay white male sitting right there, bitch, I would have read you the house down." But I was like, "Girl, let's just not say that."
Oh, wait a minute. I want to hear the read. Wait a
Oh,
minute.
no,
I want to hear the read. Can you pretend that a cis gay white man said that?
no, unless we get a cis
Let's
white man to pay her what his salary is.
let's say a cis white man just said Spider-Man is his spirit animal.
Oh Jesus. Oh Jesus. You guys are trying to get me canceled.
So I was a really big spirit animal girl for a hot minute there, because I just didn't know the history and I didn't know anyone was offended. And the second that I found out, like, it's always when you find out that you're doing something wrong or that you said something wrong, how much you hear other people say it after the fact. And every time I hear it, I'm just like, that's gross.
Girl, I'm gonna confess too. I was very anti-black for a minute. I was taught and I was raised around. I went to an all indigenous school. Black slurs were thrown around all the time, so it felt comfortable with me. And because we'd never had black people around in my indigenous reservations, I thought it was the norm because you know my indigenous um, um, peers were saying it, so I thought it was okay. It was until I left that I was like, okay, this is not okay. Also, like with the whole thing with like spirit animal, I had to educate myself too because like there's other cultures and other traditional other tribes that hold that more accountable than say for myself. Um, from my tribe, we don't really have spirit animals. We more have like spirits stories of animals. But there are other indigenous cultures that have references to spirit animals. Um, so
See,
yeah,
and
so I'm the same way. I mean,
and you know, the other thing that I think is really interesting to note here is for myself and Shug especially, you know, although Shug was raised on the reservation in this and around her people, I wasn't, but both of us were impacted very directly by colonization and assimilation because all of the culture and tradition is stripped from us. So over the years, I started learning more about my people and asking questions, but it was like I was going to my mom. She didn't have the answers because it was stripped from her, you know, centuries before. It took me many years to peel back the layers of the impact of colonization and forced assimilation on myself and my family and our people. And so it's one of those things where it's just like, I think it's important. And I love what y'all just shared. I love that you, Shug, said what you said about Black people and not being raised around Black people and understanding that you yourself didn't realize that you were raised in a very racist environment.
and it's still happening to this day.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear it all the time. Even my grandmother to talk about that. Just bring it up. Um, so in my language, um, the term for a Black person back in the day, um, it was kind of like equal to the N word.
Mm.
But some new up and coming millennials came up with a new term. But even like my elders are still using that
Mm.
racial term in our own language. So like for example, the way I was raised and the way my grandfather would identify a Black person is Jenny. And so that's considered more of a racial term in our language. But now our millennials changed it, and now they refer our Black relatives as nakle, or not nakle, sorry, nashlithli, which is a little bit more better than the term before. But I still hear that in my own culture, even from my older generation, from my grandparents, my great parents are still using that word. And I'm even teaching my grandmother, you got to stop saying that word. That's not okay. Even if like half of society does not realize that is that word. So yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know
You know, and I mean, it's
important for people of color to take acceptance for the ways in which we were raised that are problematic. It's so bad. Like the Hispanic, the Mexican community, like within the Black culture, all types of racism, all types of like hateful slurs, and it's like,
that's the
how
same
do you
thing.
expect somebody
Don't
to
forget us
respect
indigenous
you?
people. Yeah, us indigenous people were right
It's
next
like,
to
how do
our
you expect us
our
to?
yeah.
It's just really odd and really awkward, and especially for those of us who have multiple heritage. I have been on this journey of learning and finding out who I am, and like I'm pretty sure the only thing that I'm not is East Asian, and so like learning all of that and like understanding that I have all of these histories and all these cultures inside of me. It's like this didn't just start with me. So many of us have so much of each other within us, yet we're so quick to just kind of pass it aside and to look down on someone. It's so stupid. Again, back to what you said at the beginning. Why aren't we just looking at people as human beings and treating them as such as well?
I mean, here is something interesting, right? So I'm Italian and Polish and indigenous, right? And I actually was like, what and how much of a super mind fuck would it be if I went back on my dad's side and went back far enough within our lineage and found out that I was related to Columbus? Like, what would that look like? Right?
Bitch, you better give me some land then. Give me some land.
I'll give you some land back. I mean, but think about that though, right? You know, there is that possibility because of the way in which colonization happened. And so I find it interesting because some of the things that we're talking about are common themes, not just with race, but also within and outside of the LGBTQIA2S community. And so it's like, where do we start to draw lines and build bridges to bring us closer together? And how do we do that? I think part of it
I mean, there's
is
not a hard line between transness and queerness, between identity and not orientation, but attraction. Orientation felt gross in that. Attraction to others. I know so many
Girl, it's gross because it's a colonial term.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
She
Are we
did.
back?
Oh, you frozen. You frozen. Are you gonna break
There
out
we
into
go.
song?
There
You are.
There we go.
We said colonizer too many times and you got frozen.
Yeah,
they came to get us. But you know, the line is so thin, though they have absolutely nothing to do with each other. I know so many trans women who are attracted to women. I know so many trans men that are attracted to men. I know so many trans people that are just pan and bi and all of these other things. And we can't separate that queerness and just say, oh, well, I'm just trans in this moment, or I'm just queer in this moment. I'm a lesbian in this moment, and in this moment, I'm trans. No, we're all of these things together. And as a community, we should be able to come together as a community. And so often, I know I avoid a lot of people because of things that I've heard and
Bitch,
opinions that I
we're
have
just relatives.
experienced.
We are relatives. We are relatives. Simply, that's what it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, we are.
You don't sit with everybody at the cookout, but we are all at the cookout together.
Well,
I don't know though. I like to make the rounds at the cookout.
well, what we've modeled here is really helpful as well, and it's a part of having a productive or an enjoyable conversation is kind of taking turns. We each throw it around a little bit. Some of I like to sit and gather and then be chatty for a little bit, and then
I'm scared of this one because she's over here writing notes like, this is what Eli said. This is what Shug said.
Oh, she's like, oh, I am going to come back on that one for sure.
Cycling back. I have like no short-term memory, so this is my like little crutch, my safety net, so I don't stumble.
I love your safety net. I think it's brilliant.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I just jump in. I die.
I'm just gonna throw this out there. It is 10:16. We normally go about an hour, but if you're wanting to keep talking just a little bit longer, that would be fine. We could probably do maybe another 15 minutes, 14 minutes, kind of round it out for our viewers. And then we'll do a little
14.
And then everybody stay on, because afterwards we're just going to do a quick 15-minute after show with Avalisa, where the four of us will talk, and this goes out to our Patreon page. So we'll do a little bit of like deeper diving conversation for our Patreon folks. Yes. But anyway, so 13 minutes. Let's see. What's a good question that we could ask? Karma,
well, Eli, while you do your question, sister, a relative Karma, I just wanted to say, I don't want you to feel bad about saying that. I'm glad you said it. It brought good conversation. I'm glad you were accountable and said, I'm sorry. I never took it in a negative way, but it was like, it was more for like the white people that were watching.
No, fair enough. And because even when I was bringing it up, did you hear me kind of stutter to try to get it out?
I was like, ooh,
I don't know. And I just.
Yeah, I'm not one of those girls that like, oh my God, we got to cancel her. We got to cancel her. No, I'm not one of those.
Cancel her. No.
I don't know though, but I'm going to say this much though, because Karma does have the brown heritage, right? There is that side, and I do know that in your heritage, in that Latina heritage, that there are some things that you all also that are very similar to the ways in which Indigenous people will use certain things, color, all of those things. There's lots of parallels there. So
yeah, definitely.
Michelle says, thank you so much for the education tonight. As a cisgender straight woman raising a non-binary child, these talks are helping me understand some they will go through and how I can support them. Thank you, Michelle, for tuning in.
Thank you for watching.
Yes.
I'm not sorry that I went hard on cis gay white men.
None of us are sorry. None of us are sorry about that.
Okay, Eli, what's the final question?
Ooh, I'm going to let Karma toss one out there because, she has notes and thoughts.
Oh,
so
Jesus.
I'm going to let Karma ask it. What do you have for us? The final question for this last 11 minutes.
Are you kidding me? No.
The wrap up.
No.
See, she does agree. There you go. She does agree that most of them do deserve it. So we appreciate that, Michelle.
I guess we were to do, what is it? On the hot seat, like your call to action, round robin style. So like just either not necessarily to you, but like let's do a call to action to ourselves. Is that cool?
Okay.
Does that make sense? So like,
I can do that.
Why don't you model it for
your
us?
name, and then like your call to action is. I'll go first.
Yeah.
Go
Mhm.
first.
Or yeah. Karma, your call to action is to not be so apologetic, to continue to do carpe diem, carpe not, really just enjoy life and also being kind and balanced. Enjoying withdrawn times, but also knowing when it's time to hit the stage.
Mm.
All right, Eli, you're next.
All right, Eli, your call to action is to continue to engage in self-care that honors all of you, and taking those necessary breaks so that when I am doing the advocacy work, I can, do it powerfully. So I am less powerful when I am tired, or I am overdoing it, or I am experiencing PTSD. So that is my call to action, and to continue to learn from my lovely relatives that are all around me. Avalisa.
Lisa, your call to action is to work just a little bit harder on that urge to smack the fuck out of somebody. You're doing a good job. However, you are letting it affect you just a little bit too much.
Mm.
Slough it off, because smacking the fuck out of people is going to put you in jail.
We don't want you in jail, sis.
I would not survive.
Girl, well, let me know so we can start a GoFundMe. We'll do a early bail fund money.
Done.
You're up, Shug.
All right. So what was it? Call to action, Shug. Continue to not take yourself so seriously. Like kind of Eli, what he was saying. Always remember to take care of yourself first, because I always forget to do that. Because I'm always worried about like my unsheltered relatives, young trans kids that are Indigenous that feel like their voices are not heard. But my call to action to myself is to continue the good fight, continue to be visible, continue to make my presence, because that is my resistance. Continue to hold people accountable, even my own Indigenous community, that we need to include and to uplift the LGBTQ two-spirit community in all aspects, whether it's through art, whether it's through shows, whether it's through mainstream media, whether it's through fashion, whether it's whatever. Being a homemaker, we need to uplift them. And I want to be that voice. So sometimes, Shug, just like you kind of says, go harder. And somebody give me a match and some gasoline, and Shug is here.
Because she's going to burn this shit down. Besides cutting a bitch. Besides cutting a bitch, or just cutting Avalisa, because apparently that's what happens when Shug and Avalisa get together. Avalisa
It's
bleeds.
always stubbing my toe. It's always stubbing my toe.
Well, I love that. I think that those are some beautiful calls to action, and I am so appreciative of all three of you and the work that I know that you do. And again, I mean, right here, Shug said it, and I'm going to say it again. Our existence is an act of resistance. Just merely showing up in the world as who we are. We are resisting a lot of those. We're going to have to do an episode of Frankly Speaking from your apartment.
Oh my
Yes, with props, please.
Oh my god, like a variety of things. I don't know. Yeah.
Did you just drink olive oil?
I put my vodka in these little novelty bottles.
Ooh, I do enjoy vodka. Well, I am
Fancy.
going to say, since we did a good wrap up that moved a bit quicker than expected, that we should just go on ahead and wrap it up so that I can talk to you all about dysphoria and how it fucked me up and had me fucked up for
Okay.
the past like 2 weeks. But as far
Sure.
as the main show,
All right. So,
Bye.
folks, yes. Thank you so much, everyone who tuned in on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We love you and appreciate you. If you do want to support the show, you can actually support the show by going to our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/speaking of happy, and become a patron. There is lots of stuff behind the scenes. There's some new things coming up with Speaking of Happy that I'm not announcing yet, but it's coming very soon. Something we'll just say
Oh.
there's some I do love that merchandise. And actually Lady Shug has some merchandise available. If you go to her page, there's a t-shirt there. Decolonizing yourself t-shirt with Lady Shug on it, which is beautiful. But stay tuned. All right. So we're going to say goodnight. We're going to end the broadcast. Thank you all very much. And ladies, hang on for the after show.